So we need one more pick six at least from Mr. DaRon Bland. How about we show him on Thanksgiving?
Get him that record.
How about we show him on Thanksgiving?
I already told Joseph this off air. I'm calling it. He's going to get his fifth record-breaking pick six on Thursday night just because Sam Howell is a pick-throwing machine.
Yep.
They keep testing 26, and 26 makes you pay for it every time. So I think on Thanksgiving Day, he's going to get that fifth pick six.
Welcome in to the 143 Under Review, episode 98. Coming at you live. I'm here with my boy Nick. We're back in College Station.
Yep, after Thanksgiving, and what you just heard earlier was me and Joseph calling it on the show that DaRon Bland would have his record-setting pick six on Thanksgiving for the Dallas Cowboys. So you're welcome.
That was just an iconic call. Just iconic everything. History made there on Thanksgiving in Dallas, and that gave us a nice little into that game that we just absolutely blew out the Washington Commanders. Yep. DaRon Bland making history, which is actually the stat of the week, brought to you by Andrews Logistics. DaRon Bland gets his fifth pick six of the season in Week 11. First player in NFL history to have 5 pick sixes in a season, a record that has stood for a very long time. DaRon Bland, somebody you probably have never heard of until this season, breaks the record.
Yes, and it was week 12. But
I meant the 11th game.
Needless to say, so obviously there's a very good chance that he could blow that record out of the water.
Right now he's had one in the last couple games.
I was about to say
games,
he's already at 12 weeks into the season, and so there's plenty of games left to get like 5 more if he wants to just double that number real quick.
You can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think he's had 4 in the last 3 games, if I'm doing the math right. He had 2 against the Panthers, 1 against the Giants, and 1 against the Commanders, unless I'm leaving a game out. But
I think you're right.
4 in 3 games. He tied the record in 3 games, people.
I mean, that's just absolutely electric. And he had one against the Rams, too. I'm looking down here earlier. So, I mean, he's just been an absolute menace.
Beast.
Ever since we got him. Just an absolute gem. We got in the 5th round. Everyone was sleeping on him. He fell pretty low. And then he came in last year just filling in for an injury.
Yeah, he did good at the end of last season when he kind of came in.
He just really came alive, earned a spot on the roster, and then kind of same deal here this year. Trayvon Diggs goes down, and so DaRon Bland turns into the everyday cornerback over there, and he's just been wowing the world.
It's almost kind of like, we miss Trayvon Diggs, but it's like, you kind of forgot about him for a little bit just because of what's going on.
Not because of anything Trayvon did, but it's just like this kid's so good that he just filled that role perfectly.
Yeah, he's doing what Trayvon's known to do.
So obviously, needless to say, DaRon Bland is the player of the week. So that's why we're just praising this kid and everything he's done because he's been locked down for us all season, and we're just so happy that he was able to get that record.
Yeah, it was really cool that it was on the Thanksgiving Day game, just an iconic game, a historic game. Against
everyone's watching that
rival,
one.
And he got that pick six. Although the Commanders don't really feel like much of a rival anymore because they're so bad, but it was kind of in garbage time, which is cool because everyone had pretty much checked out at that point. Jim Vance's call of the pick six was iconic, and it was awesome. We've had some historic moments in Dallas recently.
Dak was over there eating a turkey leg on the sideline earlier.
During the game.
There's like 5 minutes left in the game, and he's just enjoying some
Him and Kevontae Turpin, they're just
like,
on
hey,
some
whatever, man.
They earned it.
You did your job. The job is done, so eat and be merry.
I'm happy for our guys. We've beaten some pretty bad teams in the last few weeks.
That's true.
Play the Seahawks Thursday night. It will be more of a test, I think, than the last few have been. Not that it will. The Seahawks, their O-line is terrible, but their offense isn't bad. So hopefully it gets us ready for the game after the Seahawks.
They are a little bit better than the teams we've faced. Obviously, that should be a win. We're super excited
at home
for that one because this is a team of a little bit of a higher caliber. And also, in these next few weeks, the Cowboys are going to play teams that are a lot better than we have been facing. So, and a lot of these teams are teams that will be competing in the playoffs. So, we're getting some good playoff experience.
The next easy team we play would be Week 17 against the Commanders. So, we have a 4 or 5 week stretch. We're playing championship caliber teams. And the week after the Seahawks, we play the Eagles. That's the biggest game of our season at this point. And so Eagles play the 49ers this week. We need them to lose to the Niners so that we can beat them and take the division.
Obviously, if we have any hopes and dreams of winning the division, we're going to have to win out the rest of the season.
Yes, we can't lose a game, which is easier said than done.
We need some other team to help us out and beat the stinking Eagles. Like, that's just not happening.
Nope.
The Chiefs had a prime opportunity to do it last 2 weeks ago, and then the Bills had a prime opportunity to do it this past week, and of course they don't do it. They blow it, and they blow it in OT, of course.
Yeah. Josh Allen and Gabe Davis not on the same page. Gabe Davis wide open in the end zone. Josh Allen threw the ball nowhere near him. Could have won the game in overtime. Josh Allen is 0-6 in overtime now.
Since complaining about
the overtime rules. We've discussed this plenty of times. Josh Allen is showing that he's not as good as everyone thinks he is. Just because you go into overtime against Patrick Mahomes doesn't make you elite. And
you gotta win. You gotta win those games, buddy. Like, we need you to come out on top.
We definitely needed that, and it didn't happen. So the Eagles get another lucky win. I'm tired of hearing about Jalen Hurts MVP. Just like,
which actually, funny enough, MVP to end the game, it was a rushing touchdown. But despite what you are accustomed to, it was not a 1-yard rushing touchdown.
No, Jalen Hurts
actually ran for more than a yard.
He did it himself
into the
for
end
the first
zone.
time in a while. Mm-hmm. He didn't get pushed by his team.
Yeah, I'm not used to seeing that. That definitely took me by surprise.
Guys, sure. Jalen Hurts is not very good as a quarterback.
I haven't seen anything that...
As a quarterback.
Oh, my goodness. He is star-studded, whatever, 100% easily MVP.
He can run, but guess what? So can every other player in the NFL.
He's not even the best quarterback in the NFC East. Like, nope. I'm sorry.
Dak's playing way better than him. Dak's got better numbers than him this season. Your quarterback's job is to throw the ball.
The only stat or thing that Eagles fans can throw at us is their 9-1 record. 10-1 now, yeah. But that's a team effort. That's also due to you having one of the best O-lines
and the luckiest
and one
teams.
of the best defenses and getting all these referees. Like, they're just getting every single little call
and no call, which happened a lot in the Bills game. But that's okay. Honestly, in my opinion, it's one of those things where we sat through an entire MLB season where the Astros came out on top, and then we took care of it in the playoffs. I think that is going to have to be what happens again. I think we're going to have to go into Philly, and I think we're going to have to prove it that we can beat them. Because, we are the better team, but we need to show it, because we got to win.
Obviously, they have the best record, sitting at 10-1, but they don't...
They're the worst 10-1 team I've ever seen.
They don't scare me, at all. As a Cowboys fan, from what I've seen of what we can do, from what I've seen what they can do, I'm not even scared at all. Also, I'm just looking at this as well from the Cowboys-Commanders game. We had a 25-point fourth quarter. I didn't notice that until just now.
I didn't know that either.
That's pretty remarkable. Because, it was close.
That's true.
At half, we 13-10, and then we put it on them.
We just got to keep riding the momentum we're on to go into these tough games and win. Thanksgiving Day.
Another Thanksgiving classic. Obviously, you get the Lions every Thanksgiving, and
they're actually good this year.
They are good this year, but they have had struggles on Thanksgiving Day in past years, and that did not change, unfortunately for them.
0-7 in the last.
They had an easier. They should have had an easier day going up against a 4-6 Packers team who move on to 5-6 after beating the Lions.
They let Jordan Love play out of his mind.
He looked like prime Aaron Rodgers did when he would play the Lions on Thanksgiving, and low-key embarrassed the Lions defense. Jared Goff has not been looking great the past few weeks, and he did not look great yesterday.
I still think the Lions will be okay in their division. They're not playing against some very good teams, but yeah, they got to figure.
They're not in
Jared
danger
Goff
of
out.
falling out of the NFC North or falling out of the lead.
No, but I don't think this year is a Super Bowl year or anything like that.
No, this is just proving that Dan Campbell is the right guy, that he's got the team moving
Yep.
in the right direction, and that
Yep.
you can have a bright future if you can continue the success that they've had. And also, we play the Lions later in the season, so I think that'll be
Hopefully,
an
they're
interesting
playing like
game.
this.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Niners Seahawks. Niners show that they are in control of their division as well.
They're back. You know, they went into a little 3-game skid after the Cowboys, and they've been winning these games recently.
Since then, they're putting up some big numbers
Yeah.
again. And you know what's funny is that this next week against the Eagles is going to be the week.
Conveniently, they're going to go back to playing
Yeah.
like they were
They're going
a
to
couple
probably
weeks
play
ago.
terribly. We're used to seeing this against the Eagles, and that's okay. Like I said, we're going to have to do it ourselves. Nobody else is going to do it for us. Nobody else helps us out. But Niners took care of business. They look good. That Black Friday game was just a doozy, like we said it was going to be.
Yeah, it was
Neither team looked
interesting
great.
one.
I'll tell you that.
obviously no one had any hopes for the Jets because they didn't have any hope for themselves.
Nope.
They had finally benched Zach Wilson for Tim Boyle.
Not like it did them
And
any good.
They did just about the same job they would do with Zach Wilson in there. So there's really no change for the Jets.
The Dolphins defense played good. The Dolphins offense, it was struggling a little bit. Tua had 2 picks. It wasn't, but then again, the Jets defense has played pretty well this season. So not really anything special to take away from that game. That was kind of a waste of time game. And if it wasn't the only game on that day, it wouldn't have been that popular. But Dolphins take the win 34-13 on Friday. So then we get to Sunday. And, the biggest 12 o'clock game was Jags-Texans. Texans are finally good. You know, I think that's what we've seen this season.
They still are in contention for their division, but this was a big game
This was for the lead.
against the Jags, and unfortunately for them, their struggles in the kicking department would continue. You know,
Yep.
Fairbairn got injured a couple weeks ago, and so they've been without a kicker. Then they picked up this Matt Amendola fella, and
He's 0 for 5 from 50 yards.
he
or more.
doinked the crossbar to tie the game and put it into OT.
And he
They
had
would
missed
go on to lose.
50-yarder earlier in the game,
Yep.
which came back to bite him. We're seeing a lot in this league that missed extra points and missed field goals are coming back to bite teams at the end of the game. And it truly is a game of inches, because if that kick had been a few inches up, he would have made it. It would have doinked in.
CJ Stroud's still looking good. Easily offensive rookie of the year. I don't think there's really
No, there's definitely no
any
debate.
question.
I'd give him the MVP over Jalen Hurts, though. I will
He's
say
the
that.
second best quarterback in Texas. I'll give him that.
That's true.
Like he's
That's
got
saying
that
a lot
locked
because they're
up.
both playing really well right now. But Trevor Lawrence and the Jags, they took care of business. I would say the Jags defense honestly did more than the Jags offense in terms of Trevor Lawrence was missing some wide open guys. I don't see Trevor Lawrence as being better than CJ Stroud this season. CJ Stroud's got 19 touchdowns and 2 fewer interceptions than Trevor
Well,
Lawrence.
they can go shake hands with Matt Amendola and give him a high five and say thanks for the 2 missed field goals because obviously he makes both of those. They win the game.
Yeah, I just think that the Jags have some really good players. They have great offensive talent, but
They have
it's
some
not,
weapons there, but it just has not been all coming together
Like it should
recently.
be.
They've been winning games, but it's not what we've been expecting from them this
Their
season.
win against the Texans reminded me a lot of an Eagles win. Just getting very fortunate that the team didn't make the field goal to go into overtime. But they get the win. They get the division for right now. And that was a big 12 o'clock game. Another team that takes their division.
Well, what we were saying with the Jags-Texans game is that game should have been flexed to the Sunday night game
Yes.
so that we could actually have a good primetime game.
Instead,
But
we
of
saw
course that didn't happen.
Ravens-Chargers,
Yeah.
which, by the way, I understand the Ravens are good, but putting them on a primetime game, they're so boring. Like, they just run the ball. But also putting them against the Chargers. The Chargers don't
They
deserve
don't need to be
primetime
on
games.
primetime.
They're terrible this year. They're losing every game they're playing. They should fire their coach, but they still haven't done it.
They should have fired their coach like a year ago.
Yes, they should have, which we've been saying.
He should not have even had a job this year. I don't know how on earth.
Because the Jags and Texans are both good, I agree they should have flexed that game to the Sunday night game, or even the Monday night game, because that Bears-Vikings game was just something.
Yet again, the Bears on prime time and the Vikings. And
1 touchdown was scored, 5 minutes left in the game, and the Bears scored no touchdowns. They won on 4 field goals. So that was just extremely riveting to watch on Monday night. The Sunday night game was just as boring. The Ravens took the win against the Chargers, but yeah, I think that I agree that they need to start. They said that they could flex games, and they haven't been doing it, and I think that they need to start doing that because I think the ratings are. The ratings have to be taking a hit from these terrible primetime games.
Well, because it's the only game that's on, and they're just always so bad. And it's like when you get Josh Dobbs going up against Justin Fields, I don't know what you're expecting. Like, that's on you for setting that as the primetime game. Like,
yep.
At that point, that's when you would flex it with, like, the Jags-Texans game or something like that.
Anyways, so Falcons also take control of their division, beating the Saints. That's just one of those divisions that the winner of the division might end up with a losing record. And play us in the first round, it's looking like. So we'll probably get to play the Falcons first round.
Yeah, what we were talking about earlier is the NFC playoff picture is going to be just about the exact same as it was last year. That's what it's shaping up to be. You know, it'll be Eagles, Niners, the NFC North winner, the NFC South winner, and then us, and then maybe the Seahawks. They'll slip into that 6 or 7 slot. And then I don't know who the other team would be, but it's looking like it's going to be us playing whoever wins the NFC South.
And then this time
that'll be a slop fest.
The Eagles, probably.
Which I will be excited about.
I will too. Ideally, we'd want to win the division. It's just looking like since nobody can beat the Eagles, they're going to be number 1 in the NFC. And that's fine. I kind of do want the hype around the Eagles so we can go into Philly and beat them.
So everyone could just be sleeping on us. You know what? The Eagles kind of remind me of the Vikings from last year. Where it was like, because you know, the big thing with the Vikings last year was they were 11-0 in one-score games. Yes. But then this year, I believe they're 5-5 in one-score games. You know, I guess, yeah, 5-5 in one-score games. And they got exposed for that in the playoffs by the Giants, who were 9-7-1 last year.
That same Giants team is doing terrible this year.
Yeah, and so I could totally see something like that happening to the Eagles. Obviously, it would probably have to be us that exposes them because they're going to get
nobody else will.
Bye. Yeah, of course.
But you know what? Here's how I feel about our rivalry that's been getting more and more heated because both of us have been good. And so it's about, obviously the Eagles have been more successful recently, but both of us have been very good, very talented teams, so our matchups are always pretty good. What I feel like is it's a little bit of, when teams get overhyped in the NFL, they often get brought pretty low. And the Eagles have been overhyped. They lost the Super Bowl last year, but they might as well have won. They might as well have won.
That's what everyone makes it out to be like.
And so they've been the overhyped team now for this season. Everyone's just looking for excuses to give the MVP to Jalen Hurts, even though he can't throw the ball as a quarterback. And I just think it's got to be the Cowboys that beats them, just kind of like a little bit of a storybook ending.
Obviously,
the rivals got to beat them.
If we beat them in a couple weeks, there will be an excuse there. But it's like if we do it in the playoffs, there's nothing.
I think
we ended their season.
Our players are beginning to just hate the Eagles, and I think that's what you need.
Good, absolutely. Because one of my main gripes with the Eagles and everyone that's loving on them is, here's what they do: is what they seem to forget is that we have the exact same schedule as the Eagles. You know, they talk about how the Cowboys have been beaten up on bad teams, how everyone we're beating is below 500 when the Eagles are beating those exact same teams, and no one's saying anything about it. But it's like, for example, when they played the Commanders the first time, they beat them 34-31 in a game-winning field goal in overtime. And everyone's like, wow, the Eagles are so good. They just continue to find ways to win every week, which I guess inherently that is true because they've won 10 games, but they're just loving on the Eagles, just blowing that huge Commanders win out of proportion. And then the Cowboys go and embarrass the Commanders on Thanksgiving Day by 35, and everyone's like, oh, well, the Commanders are trash.
Yeah,
oh, well, Sam Howell's a garbage quarterback or whatever, this, that, and the other. But then it's like the Eagles do the exact same thing, and, no one says anything about it.
I agree. The Eagles are just one of those teams that, getting the win is super important. They're 10-1 for a reason, but the thing is, I don't think anyone in the league is scared of the Eagles when they play them. And I appreciate the fact that there's also some beef between the 49ers and the Eagles right now. There's some talk going back and forth between the players. And so I think that game in Philly should be good. Hopefully the 49ers could just come in clutch and win. But I think if I was going to have to, if there was a team I'd rather play in the second round of the playoffs, it would be the Eagles. So if the Eagles do get the number one spot, I'd rather them get the number one spot and us play them than us have to go play the Niners again, because we've shown that our kryptonite is the 49ers.
And then also, of course, why wouldn't they? The Eagles get to play the 49ers at home. I mean, is there really any surprises there?
No, nope. The NFL always gives the Eagles their big games at home. Obviously, they gave the Chiefs the home game because the Chiefs did win the Super Bowl against the Eagles, so they're not going to give the Eagles that game. You got to give the Chiefs that game.
Yeah.
But all the Eagles' big games they get at home. I'm kind of surprised this year that they got the first home game against us and not the last one when it really mattered. I'm surprised we got that one at home, which that'll be a good one. But luckiest team in the NFL, most fortunate.
Everyone's been criticizing Josh Allen for the last couple weeks and saying how bad he is, this, that, and the other. And the Eagles barely eke out a win. And now it's like, oh, well, actually the Bills were good.
You talk about stats.
The Eagles beat a really good team.
Josh Allen had stats in that game.
Yeah.
He cooked Jalen Hurts. But Jalen Hurts' defense and offensive line is better, so they won the game. I mean, it was a raining game. It's got to be the defense, and the defense for the Eagles was better than the defense for the Bills in the end. So, yet another week of an Eagles win and a Cowboys win, but yet the Eagles are the only ones that are talked about. But that's okay. We're honestly, as Dallas teams, we're getting used to being the villain.
Yeah, used to being the underdogs, the team that no one wants to talk about. But hey,
team that nobody likes.
That's okay. Keep hating.
Yep, I agree. But not a crazy week in the NFL.
No, Dak just solidifying himself as easily. He could win the MVP.
We definitely need. I'm worried our players will look towards the Eagles game. We need to focus on this Thursday night game.
Yeah. And
then it's good that we'll have about 10 days to get ready for the.
But then also, I think DaRon Bland has put himself up there as Defensive Player of the Year.
I mean, I feel like you have to give it to him.
Everyone on Twitter was kind of bringing that up. And obviously, you've got Myles Garrett, TJ Watt, all
Myles
those
Garrett's
guys are
hurt now, though.
Talked about. But it's like, now that DaRon Bland has not only set the record, but he might blow it out of the water.
Yeah,
there's still
it's his record to
plenty of weeks to play.
Now.
So I mean, he should be the front runner for Defensive Player of the Year.
I mean, when a defensive player makes history like that, a record that hasn't been broken in a while.
Yeah,
I feel like you gotta give it to him. But since he's a Cowboy, there's a chance they won't.
I was about to say, since he wears a star on the side of his helmet every Sunday, they're gonna have ill will towards him.
I'm sure he'd prefer a Lombardi instead.
I mean, yeah, that's right. You can have Defensive Player of the Year. We'll take a trophy,
but we need to get there.
Trophy, but we have to get there first. Yes, absolutely. Well, here's what I'd like to end our shows on Under Review. I brought to you a quote from the Terry Bradshaw. When you've got something to prove, there's nothing greater than a challenge.
Facts. You can see Terry every Sunday.
And that's exactly what the Cowboys have is they always have something to prove. We got something to prove every week, every year.
I think our players are finally playing with a chip on their shoulder, though.
Which they should be.
They should be. I think it's been a few seasons since I've seen Dak play with one.
I mean,
I appreciate
he's
that.
Looking absolutely disgusting this year.
He's
playing some of the best football that we've seen out of Dak Prescott. Since he entered the league, this was back, his first 2 years, his rookie year, when he was really good. And so that is so huge to see because everything runs through Dak because, he's the team leader.
He's the leader.
So it's like if he's up doing good, I feel like that brings everyone else up as well.
That's what we said at the beginning of the season. Dak's got to play good for the team to be good. And
Brandon Cooks has been getting a lot more
that
involved.
was a great pickup.
He was great this last week against the Commanders, and he's been great in weeks prior. Had a slow start to the season. He didn't really get like any touches the first couple games of the season, but now he's
Dak's
looking
relying
filthy.
on him more with CD being like double covered. So, team is looking good. Hopefully, we get the win Thursday night and focus on the Eagles game after that. And still a lot of season left, so we will see how it goes.
Just don't get complacent. Continue to compete.
Exactly. Thank y'all for tuning in this week. We will see you next week with another episode of Under Review.